Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Thrive in Your Mission. I'm Elvira Hopper, and I'm here with my fabulous partner, Tavia Sharp. And we're excited because we had this incredible conversation last week around not getting taken out of your zone when you're trying to thrive in your mission. And I told the story of me speaking at this conference where there were some women in the back, talking to each other, and they weren't listening to me up on stage. And, I, at first I got, upset, and I got off the stage thinking, oh, they were so rude, and, maybe I wasn't that interesting. And I was telling myself
Mhm.
all these stories, and then and then I realized, no, you know what, that was about them, and maybe I triggered them. And I'm pretty shiny up on stage. I like to sing, and I speak from the heart. I don't, I don't use notes. A lot of the women use notes. So when you see someone up on stage really owning it, and you're not owning it, it can be triggering, right? So here's the thing. You said something, Tavia, when we were having our chat last week about how women only get to a certain level. I forget what you said exactly, but it made me realize, oh my God, that weekend at the conference, women were talking about how there's this glass ceiling and we need to break it. And I
Mhm.
just got really present to the fact that, there's women that get to a certain level, but who do they have to become to get to that level where they are taken more seriously as a CEO, as someone who is, running a company, and, is simply, at the same level with men, right? And let's face it, the patriarchy is what it is, right? And it's tried to keep us at a certain level. So you could say that that's the reason women aren't rising and breaking through that glass ceiling. But you know what? I'm really present to the fact that there's too many women that operate in the old patterns, the old conditioning, the women wounds, right? The
Yes.
excuse me, especially the mean girl wound, right? Which is that wound where you're afraid of being judged. Mine came out last week when I thought these women in the audience were probably saying nasty things about me up on the stage, right? That's my old pattern, my old conditioning. And I used to be taken out and afraid to speak. And okay, I'm going to just play small here because I don't want to be criticized or judged or whatever, right? So I just want to invite, this conversation, what is possible. I mean, I invite us to have a conversation about what is possible, Tavia, if we as women go deeper into healing our women wounds, especially, so that we can actually, smooth sailing through the glass ceiling, right? You can't help but witness somebody who's done their inner work and is able to shine bright in their light and break through any ceilings because they've got a calm nervous system. They're not just playing to be liked, and the cliques and all the dynamics that can happen in corporations. They're just being their freaking awesome selves, and serving these companies as they want to be CEOs, right? Well, do the inner work so that you can shine bright in your light and you're taken more seriously. So I'm just going to drop the mic and I want to hear from your perspective. Does that resonate at all with you, Tavia?
It does. It does. But the interesting thing I think is that we often talk about the patriarch and like how men, often excel quicker, I'll say, and it's proven they make more money, in corporate and in certain positions they get in companies faster than women. There is this imbalance. We all know that. It's reality. But I do think some of it has to do with women and the women wounds versus them comparing themselves to the men. I often think that women are afraid to go after it because they're afraid of what other women are going to say about them, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
think of them like, oh, she's sleeping her way to the top. Oh,
Uh-huh.
who does she think she is? She thinks she's better than us. Oh, she's like a B word, right? I mean,
Yeah.
think about all the negative things that women get called if
Yeah.
they rise to the next level in or excel in a job, in a corporate position. They get all the negative things versus like accolades from other peers that happen to be at the same level at some point, it's like
Yeah.
almost like they get more negative comments than positive, right? And
Yeah.
so I think about all of the women that are scared or have fear or don't want to go for that position because they're like, I don't want to deal with all the negative stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
not even the, yeah, there's the whole story around, the patriarch, right? And that we know that to be true. But then think about this whole other side of it, which is what we call the women wounds.
Yeah.
And I do think that stops a lot of women from getting,
Yeah.
from excelling, from breaking through the glass ceiling, from going for it, right? There's
God.
so much more that they have to deal with than men. I don't think men deal with a lot of these things. And
No.
it's just reality. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. It's so true, Tavia. And it's
Mhm.
the saying it's a man's world, right? Which sucks, right? But that's the patriarchy in action, right? There was a
Yes.
time when there was a matriarchy that led the world, right? And women were goddesses and they were honored. And in the indigenous cultures, the women
Mhm.
still are, the leaders of, it's more of a matriarchy in their culture. But
Yes.
with our culture, it's still the patriarchy. But I do believe we're making a lot of strides. And the Dalai Lama said, the world will be saved by the Western woman. And that always gives me
Wow.
hope every time I say that. And I truly believe that too, Tavia, but only
Mm.
when the Western woman has gotten her shit together and she knows that she's not in competition with her sisters, she can be in
Yes.
collaboration and co-creation, and she can rise as high as she wants to rise, right? And she can
Mhm.
break that freaking glass ceiling with her mindset, with the way that she sees herself, with her own healing, her own inner work. This is why
Yes.
I believe we have to do this, so we are not just dependent on other people liking us to bring us to the top or sleeping our way to the top or whatever.
Exactly.
We need to
Yes.
have credibility as these strong, powerful goddesses that we are, these queens that, we're here to rule. Like, we're here to rule in whatever way makes sense. You're ruling in your organization, I'm ruling in mine. And there's women that are still struggling corporately because it's still a man's world. Men are paid more. But you know what, sisters, let's band together. Let's do the inner work at a deep
Yes.
level. Let's support one another so that we can break through those glass ceilings. And,
Absolutely.
I'm just going to
Mhm.
drop that right there.
Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to say here is that yes, there's reality of what's happening outside of you, which sometimes we don't have control of. Well, we a lot of times we don't have control of, right? But what
Mhm.
you do have control of is your own self, the inner
Yes.
work that you do. When I work with clients, many of my clients, when they're ready to work on their image, is because they've done the inner
Yeah.
first. And
Yeah.
now they're ready to have the outer match the
Match
inner,
the inner.
right?
Yeah.
And that's just the people that I work with, a majority of them, I would say 90% of my clients have done some form of personal development work, and
Yeah.
that's when they're ready to come to me to do the outer, because now all this stuff, it's shifted, and now they need their outer to really represent who they are now. It's a new version of themselves and they're ready to step into it fully. And guess what? When you do that, boom, things
Yeah.
happen like a magnet. You
Yeah.
become so
Yes.
magnetic,
Miracle
right?
magnet. Yes.
It's a miracle magnet. It truly
Yeah.
is. That's
Yeah.
why Elvira and I think that our combination of us doing
Yes.
the inner, she does the inner, I help you with the outer. It works so beautifully together.
Yeah.
So we know what's going on outside of us. We don't have control of it. We have both worked in corporate jobs. I have
Yes.
worked with mean girls. I have worked with
Yep.
in a world where it was all about the man getting to the top, and that's why I got to see at the town halls. It's like men on the stage. It's like what do I have to look up to, right? And
Yeah.
I was like, I'm done with this. I'm
Yeah.
starting my own thing. I am going to be the go-to image expert in New York City, and that's what I sought out to be.
Oh my God.
And this is what I'm still striving to be, the number one in New York
Yay.
of all cities in the world. I'm going after, right? This is like, the city, right? And competition is deep here, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm
Mm.
like, you know what? I don't let other people that do similar things, that I don't let that bother me, because I know who I am. I stay in my
Yeah.
lane. I know who my
Yeah.
clients are. I'm
Yeah.
not for everybody. I work with people that have done inner work, and they are
Yes.
ready to have that outer be a true
Yeah.
representation of who they are. That's what makes my work different. It is transformational, just like
Yeah.
Elvira works with people who are ready to transform the inner. And, this is why we do what we do, and it works
Yay.
well together. So we are excited.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
if this resonates with you, please drop your comments below. We'd love to hear from you. What was your big takeaway? And if you have any comments, we'd love to hear those as well. So, yeah, until next time, we'll
Yeah.
see you on the next Thrive in
See
Your
you.
Mission.